Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Guess what? It is Christmas Eve, and I hope that you are all prepared to show love, to be with family, to really understand the reason for the season. And it's not so much about the gifts, but it's about the family, it's about the celebration of life. So, we just want to make sure that we are taking the time to actually understand all of that and tapping into what matters to you. So, what matters to me, um, from my point of reference, is family. What matters to me is real estate. I love real estate, and also being able to share the information that I've learned through my home buying experiences, that I've learned from having clients and buyers and sellers. And so I love, love, love being able to gift information, right? Some people want to withhold, but I love to gift information. I just love being able to put people in position to level up. So, without further ado, welcome to the HomeGirl Tuesdays at 10, the Christmas edition. And today we are going to discuss closing cost. So last week we talked about the actual amount that you need to have your upfront cost to actually purchase a home, meaning like the inspection fees, your earnest money, due diligence, the appraisal fee, and things like that. Now we're going to take it a step further and talk about your closing costs. So your closing costs are a sum of all the items that you need to close. Basically, that is your lender fees, your title fees, meaning from the closing attorney. That's like your loan origination fee. That's part of your lender fee. That is like your prepaid taxes and homeowners insurance, because you have to prepay your taxes depending on whenever you buy. You also have to prepay for your homeowners insurance depending on what time of the year that you buy. So those are what consists of your closing costs. Okay. Now that we're in this market seeing higher interest rates than we've seen in the past, I'm not going to say average because I don't like that word, because there's been decades ago when interest rates were in the 8 or 9% point. So we're not going to use the word average. We're going to say higher than they've been in the most recent years. I'll say higher from 2021. So now that we're kind of seeing interest rates be a little bit higher, right? I don't want to say that they're lower or higher or average, but they're a little bit higher. So that can also cause your closing costs to be a little bit more. And that goes on to the lender fee side, like the loan cost, the cost of the loan. The higher interest rates could also impact what that's going to be. So for a rule of thumb, we'll do $200,000. Okay. So I don't have my calculator out. Bear with me. I'm going to log on to my computer real quick. Y'all can tell. Okay, so my computer's not working. That's perfectly okay. Oh, now it wants the power on. But just do on that, just because of where we are in this climate, I always want to overestimate, because the more we can overestimate, we won't receive any shock value. And again, buying a home is super, super emotional. So we want to make sure that we're not in for any surprises, but we're kind of like saying, oh, I thought it was going to be more than that. And it comes as a pleasant surprise versus a shock surprise. So it's early, guys. I have not even finished my coffee. Not having school this week has made me sleep in a little bit more than what I normally do. So just bear with me. This is the homegirl being in the realness of life, okay? So here I have my calculator. So we're going to do 200,000. I'm just going to give that number just to keep things simple. Matter of fact, we may need to do 250 because we're in a different place and time. So we'll do 250,000. Okay. If you times that by 3%, your closing costs are looking to be around 7,500. Again, I'm saying 3% of the total value of of the total price you're purchasing the home at. I'm saying 3% because we're in this climate again where the interest rates are higher, and that could also impact your loan origination fees. It's okay though, because we're already going to be prepared for that, right? Now, you can also do 250,000 and do that times 2.5%. And that'll be 6250. Okay, so now we have this range of where you're kind of going to be looking at for your closing costs. And again, your closing cost is made up of your loan origination fees, your lender fees. It's also made up of your closing attorney fees. So they have to do a title insurance. They have to do a title search. You have to buy title insurance to make sure that you're getting a clean and clear title to the property, and nothing can come back 2 years later saying, oh, well, this home had a lien on it from way back when, and now the new owner is responsible for it. So you want to make sure that you do have that, and you go through, of course, a title company, which is a closing attorney. They'll work in conjunction with the title company to make sure that you have clear title. Also, your closing costs consist of your prepaid taxes, insurance, you have deed transfer fees, and all of those things. So those are the items that take into account for you as the buyer what your closing costs will be. Now, you as the seller, you're not paying so much because you don't have a loan. You don't have to really do too much on the closing attorney side. You more or less are paying for like deed transfer fees and things like that. So if you are a seller, then your closing costs are going to be significantly lower than as a buyer, because you don't have all the origination fees and the heftiness of what purchasing the home will be. Okay, but all in all, as the seller, you may be looking to pay I'll do another video on that to break that down for you. Or better yet, what I'll do is I will calculate. I will draw out a calculation like I did on calculating your debt to income ratio. I will do a calculation and like put a picture of it for my sellers. What closing costs could look like for you. It does vary per state, but I can give an estimation of kind of what that looks like. But for my buyers, again, you're looking in this particular mortgage climate. Let me get a sip. In this particular mortgage climate, you're going to be looking at between 2.5 to 3% of the total cost of the home. So the purchase price. So our example again was 250. We know that by my computer coming up, and let me actually plug in those numbers. 250 times 3% is 7,000. Let me just make sure I'm right on that. 7,500. Okay, that's on the high end. Now your range could be, again, I'm just reiterating this, if you are at, it could be 6,200. Okay, but those are your closing costs. But this is the beauty of it. Okay, again, I just gave you a high end estimate just kind of based on where we are with the mortgage rates. Okay, and again, mortgage rates have a bearing on your loan origination fees and your loan costs that you have to pay at the closing table, because it's your loan, right? The good thing is, guys, Merry Christmas to you. The good thing is that you could ask the seller of the home that you're buying to pay your closing costs. So that's why you need a skilled and knowledgeable and a realtor who can negotiate and knows what is needed for you. A realtor who's going to work for you and not be afraid to ask for the closing costs. Granted, the seller could say no, right? They're not obligated to pay your closing costs, but sometimes they will if your realtor can paint a nice picture for you, can give some insight as to what's going on. So that's the good thing, that your closing costs, some of them can be covered by the seller. But all in all, you do want to be prepared on your own side to make sure that you do have the money in case we get into this situation where there's multiple offers and the seller is looking at offers and he's like, well, they're not asking for any closing costs, we're going to go with them. So you want to just also make sure that you're prepared. Secondly, Merry Christmas, is that your earnest money that you put down and your due diligence also goes as a credit towards your closing costs. So if you were on the high end of 7,500, right? and you put down like $2,000 all in for your earnest money and your due diligence, and we're looking at that example of 7,500, then you're going to the closing table already having to bring 5,500 because you get that as a credit, guys. So imagine if your seller would have paid, or you asked your seller to pay 3,000 of that, and they said yes. So now that drops your number from 75 to 5,500 based on your earnest money and due diligence that you put in. And then it also drops it down 3,000 more dollars. So now you're at $2,500 that you're having to bring to the closing table. So that's how that works. It kind of starts off high, and then when you factor higher, maybe then you may want to pay. Then when you start factoring in all the things that can actually help you with your closing costs, home buying is not so bad. So I want you just to take that into consideration, that your closing costs consist of, one more reiteration, your closing costs consist of your loan origination fees, your the cost to actually produce the loan and verify the loan, confirm the loan. It also consists of your title insurance, your title searches, your deed preparation, the closing attorney cost to actually use that attorney. Those are all your closing attorney fees. And then it also consists of your prepaid taxes, your prepaid homeowners insurance. So that's where we got that number for the 7,500. Now each loan officer is different with their fees, each closing attorney is different with their fees, but the state where the property taxes, they kind of are what they are, and the homeowners insurance quotes, you can shop that around. Okay, so yeah, but the good thing is your earnest money and your due diligence knocks that number down. And also you can ask for closing costs from your seller on your offer to purchase that home, and they could say yes, and that could also knock that number down. So Merry Christmas, guys. This has been the Homegirl Tuesdays at 10. I'm so excited about what next year brings and what this holiday season brings, and hopefully it's going to bring you a new home. Check in with me. Let me know if you have any questions. Two things before we break. I have two links down below. One is a buyer's readiness assessment that you could take, and also one is to get your credit score for $1, just to help you be prepared for your next journey in home ownership. This has been the Homegirl Tuesdays at 10. Have a wonderful Christmas, everybody.